What's something your partner has said to you that really hurt you but served as a valuable lesson?
I know what mine is. You always tell me that I don't know how to like utilize my time well, which didn't hurt. In a good way though. In terms of like
I've never said that to you.
No, you do. As in not in a bad way, but you always say that I need to learn how to use my time in a way that's efficient, because I know I don't. Like, I'm a big procrastinator. It's never come like in a rude way from me. It's when I've been talking about what I'm struggling with. Whether it's to do with things that I want to get done, or how I feel like time just gets away from me and a whole day goes by and I feel like I've hardly got anything done. And I have this really bad habit of just either procrastinating or not knowing how to prioritize things. And so I'll end up having a list of to do, and I'll end up doing everything that's completely not on my list, like reorganizing a kitchen cupboard, instead of what's actually on my list of things to do. So you talk about this a lot. It wasn't just that line, but when you tell me that about myself, I know it's definitely true because it hits home. So I feel like we have never been in a situation where we don't filter what we say to each other. Like, even if we're really upset with one another, or even if we're angry or whatever it is, I don't feel like we burst out like words that we don't mean. Mm-hmm. I don't think we've ever really done that. I don't think we've been so harsh with our words in arguments or when we felt upset with one another. Yeah,
I just feel like with that type of stuff, you have to be careful about that with your partner, because you've got to look at this person like every night before you go to bed. You have to see them every morning when you wake up. Mm-hmm. And if you say stuff you don't mean too often, either it becomes real or that person feels like, just like a joke has an element of truth. Even if you say something you don't mean that's extreme, there's still an element of truth. And now that person has that with them. Yeah. And I know one thing that I used to say that I stopped saying in our relationship was, for a long time I used to say things like, oh, like I can live without you if I needed to.
Oh, yeah.
And I used to see that as a sign of strength to say that. And that came from me just being detached and, being independent. But then I started to see like that type of language in a relationship. And I never said it in a mean way or a extreme way, but just that statement, what those words actually mean, you end up pushing your partner away. And so you've got to be so careful with your words that you say to your partner, because if you're saying something just to get a reaction out of them, or you're saying something it's like being 16 again, like when you say something to your friend just to get a reaction out of them.
Yeah.
But it's like, you can't live like that with your partner, because you're just with them so much of the day that you got to be so intentional and focused on how you speak to people. So, what's the one that so what's my thing? What's something your partner has said to you that really hurt you but served as a valuable lesson? I don't think you've ever said anything hurtful to me.
What about when I said I didn't like your hair?
There are times when like I've worked really hard on something.
Oh yeah.
This is it.
Okay, go on, tell me.
I've worked really hard on something like a video, or I've been on a photo shoot, or
we have a lot of those
moments. Podcast logo, or whatever. I've worked really hard on something, and I'll show Radhi to get her feedback, and Radhi is just so honest. Like, she is just honest. Like, she does not hold back. Like, she would just say it as it is. And in the beginning, and even there are sometimes now where like my ego gets hurt or when my emotions get hurt, but then I'm like, actually, I'm so lucky that I have someone who's so honest. And that's become a valuable lesson for me, because if she wasn't like that and she just said yes to everything I did, then I would never know whether if I was doing something was good or not. Whereas I know now, if I show her a video and she's like, I don't like that, then I'm like, oh, at least she cares to be honest with me, rather than just be like, oh yeah, that's the best video I've ever seen, and then we put it up and then no one likes it. And so for me, like, I've learned to value her honesty, and she's just raw sometimes. Like, she'll straight away be like, nah, that's terrible, right? But it's in a loving way, because it's out of care ultimately in terms of getting the right thing. So for me, I think that's the one. That's the one it is for me. So I actually value Radhi being honest with me, as opposed to either lying to me or just saying yes for the sake of it, or just to make me feel better. So that's mine.
Okay, fair.
Cool. Yeah?
I agree. I do that.
All right, okay. So here we go. What's the next one? Okay. How do you decide what you guys show to the public and what you keep private?
Good question. I've been talking to you about this a lot, haven't I? I find I get asked a lot why I don't share like so much of mine and Jay's relationship on my page, whether it's like pictures or whatever it is. And I find like you're so sweet and you're so expressive on your page, and I feel you're like that, whether it's with me or whether it's with your friends or like whoever comes on your podcast. Like you genuinely want to show appreciation and love on your page, and I think that's such a wonderful thing. But I think it's really good for people to know that there can be different types of people in relationships, and so that is him, and that's how he likes to express himself, along with being so expressive in person. That's how he is. Whereas for me, I just I don't know, there's a part of me that just likes keeping that to ourselves. But also I find generally, and especially for women, a lot of like posts online of people who look very, very happy together and, you know, that have a lot of relationship posts. It can actually agitate a lot of people who are feeling quite sad about that area of their life. And unfortunately, that is really prominent in society at the moment. Like a lot of people are really upset in their relationships or not dating and finding it really difficult. And so I often try and just avoid posting things that I think might just agitate people in that way, especially because love is the one thing that people are searching for so much. And so I do post things and I do post fun stuff with us, but I like to leave some of the stuff for just us for me to be able to say to you privately and not online.
Yeah.
That's just how I feel. And I feel it's, sometimes I've actually felt like, oh, maybe I should like write a really sweet post online and, you know, say to him, and I'm like, oh, but maybe I just want to write in his card. And then I write it all out and then I just delete it and I write what I actually feel like writing, which is something just sweet, light, and like just relaxed, rather than, you know, having that emotional outpour online, which I find a bit difficult to do. So yeah, and I think that's okay. Like it's okay to be both people, and I think there's beauty in how you are online and how you express yourself. But I feel like I just want to protect that part of me a little bit and not have that so much out there.
Yeah, and I think for me I'm always thinking about like, what can I share with you that's going to be useful to you? So if you're listening or watching right now, I want to make sure that anything I'm sharing in our relationship is actually helpful to you, is useful to you, is real for you as well. Like, why are we doing this conversation? Because we get to talk about what goes wrong, what we don't like about each other, what doesn't work, or not what we don't like about each other, but what annoys each other. You know, all of the things that we're talking about already right now. To me, I want you to see that. I want you to hear that, because I want you to hear that people can be different. People can have different opinions. They can have different priorities, but they can still love each other and they can still be together. And so for me, sometimes the reason why I share those messages is just because I'm like, this may be relevant to someone out there. And that's why we did last year's podcast. That's why we're doing this one, because I'm hoping when you hear it, you'll be like, oh, wait a minute, that's me and my boyfriend, girlfriend, partner, whatever it is. Like, that's me and my friend. Like, I want you to hear that and recognize that you can work through this stuff, that with work, with effort, you can actually get there. So yeah, that's how I decide what I'm going to share. Okay, next one. Have you ever felt pressurized by your partner in any way? I have to be honest and say no with this one, in the sense that I feel like you've been really great at coaching me through my growth in areas that you're more advanced. So when it comes to health, Radhi is far more health conscious in what she eats and her exercise routine, and it's beautiful for her wellness and how she sees wellness as this wholesome thing. And she's been that way since we've been together. And I have always focused on my mental health, but not as much on my physical health. And I've never felt forced by Radhi or pressurized by her to become someone I'm not when it comes to my physical health. I've always felt coached and guided by her. So I remember when we first moved to LA, she was the one like looking for a personal trainer for me, because she was like, I know that, you know, I told her that was the only way I would be able to get into that rhythm. And so she was doing that research for me. And then when it comes to my food, she's always making sure that whatever she cooks is right. And even though she loves spicy food, because spicy food is not good for me, she makes sure that the food she cooks for both of us is not spicy. And so I've always felt like very encouraged. And now that I'm at like feeling like the best I've felt ever, it's like I feel so happy about that, because I feel like I did it in my own time. I did it for myself, and I have a practice and ways of doing it that are right for me. And often when things are pressurized, it's very much like, well, this is how I do it. This is how you should do it. And this is what you need to do. Whereas for me, it's like, I'm doing it for myself. I found my way of doing it, and I did it in my time. And to me, having someone, especially your partner, who wants you to be healthy, but not doing it in a way that makes you feel bad about yourself. Like at one point I was probably eating too much sugar or eating too much chocolate or whatever it was. And Radhi never made me feel bad about it, but she would educate me as to why it could be better. And I feel like being educated in that way is a much smarter way of helping your partner actually grow.
Did you know that granola you're eating is the same as...
That is literally how you eat.
There's the same amount of sugar in this as this. And you'd be like, oh my gosh, I had no idea. Yeah, it's so much about education. I think with pressure, actually one thing that I thought of when I had that question was, I also don't feel like you've ever pressured me. And one of the main things for me was when we actually met, you were recently a monk before that. And so in my eyes, I was like, oh my gosh. And I was just kind of starting my meditation practice at that time. And so for me, it was, I always thought, oh my gosh, am I like gonna feel really, really pressured by the knowledge that he has and by the way that his meditation practice must be so deep and powerful and all of that. I thought I would feel that way, but actually you were just such a wonderful guide and teacher in allowing me to explore it myself, because just like you said, I don't feel like nobody is gonna feel happy about doing something that they're pressured into. And also just the conviction with which someone wants to do something, if it's done out of pressure, actually it's not going to be that much, and so they're not going to want to stick to it anyway. And so I felt like that was such a beautiful journey that I went through by observing how you were in your day-to-day life, and then how your meditation practice and how your spiritual journey is what took you to become that person. And so for me, that was the greatest motivation for me to continue my journey in it, without you saying anything or making me feel a certain way about it. And again, the other thing I think of is how anything that I wanted to do or I've said I wanted to do, you've always given me advice on it and always given me the best advice that I could have asked for. But you've never forced me to do the things that you've told me that I should be doing. Like if you've given me advice, you're not regimental about it. Like you've given me advice on so many different things, and a lot of the times I haven't taken the advice, or I've heard it but I haven't been able to put it into practice. But you just really allow me to find that journey myself, and you're always there to support me, which is what I think a partner should be like in that way. But you don't get annoyed if I don't do it, and you don't pressure me into doing it if I'm not ready for it. So yes, no, I don't feel pressured by you. Except for when you don't want to eat sugar and I want to eat like chocolate cake and ice cream, and you're like, I'm not eating sugar right now. Then I feel sad. And a little bit pressured to also have to not have sugar.
Which started from you.
I know, it started from me, but
so
I like having sugar sometimes. He's like an all or nothing. So that's another thing, like, about our characters, which are so different. I can have a small bit of like chocolate every day, or like a small amount of something every day, and I will be fine. I will never have to finish it. I can just have that small amount and be very happy. If we're having sugar, it'll be like, we go to the ice cream place, Cocobella Creamery, the best vegan ice cream place ever. So we'll go there and he'll be like, okay, could I please have a chocolate fudge ice cream with triple or quadruple chocolate sauce, triple chocolate chips, triple sprinkles.
That's a good
a chocolate brownie that's heated up, and basically he has the same amount of sugar for like a month that he should in like one day.
Well remembered of my order.
I know his order.
That is exactly my order.
We went there the other day and they were like, oh, you've got 600 points. Which he got all while I was away.
I've saved them. I'm saving them. One day I want to walk in there and use all my points and like feed everyone.
So he's an all or nothing, whereas I feel like I'm quite like, I will have a little often. But you're really good. Like when he says no to having something, we will go anywhere and there'll be like the most incredible stuff around us to eat, and you'll just be like, no, I'll have fruit. Like, oh, fine, don't share my cake with me.
And I think we've also felt it with like ambition.
Yeah.
In the sense of like, I feel like I've always been really driven. Like since I remember in my teenage years, I've always been really driven. I've always been really focused and motivated and inspired. And I've always been ambitious and chasing my dreams, whatever they may be. And when we met, I was very clear about that as well.
Yeah.
That's who I was. But I feel like I work harder on my purpose now than I ever have.
Yeah.
So in one sense, I've changed a lot since we met, because when we met, I still wasn't working as hard as I am now on my purpose, but I've never felt the pressure to slow down. from you,
Yeah.
or I've never felt the pressure to have to detach from those dreams or disconnect from those dreams. And I think that really helps me because I'm not worried about feeling like I'm letting her down, because she doesn't make me feel that way, because she doesn't feel that way, I feel.
I think I've been asked this before because of the speed that you work at and like how focused you are, whether that makes me feel like pressured into being that way. And I feel like that that never really happens. I feel like I watch you do it and I'm so amazed by it and in awe of it. But I feel like I still work at the same speed. I'm just chilling along, doing things at my own pace. But I think that also shows that I never feel you're putting that onto me. It's always just you doing you, and I get to do me at the same time. But we can just kind of work on parallel, which is quite nice.
If you want even more videos like this one, click on the boxes over here. And oh, by the way, my book is out and I'm so excited. It's called Think Like a Monk, and I can't wait for you to get it. Order it now by clicking here, and I can't wait to keep making wisdom go viral together.